He's the newest member of the New York Jets. Number 4, Brett Favre, acquired in a trade from the Green Bay Packers, all taking place late Wednesday night. And Favre has joined his teammates in Cleveland as the Jets get set to take on the Cleveland Browns. Welcome to NFL Total Access inside our NFL Network studios. Thursday, Brett Favre's whirlwind tour took him from Mississippi to New Jersey, then to New York for a helicopter tour of the city, and finally off to Cleveland to address the media and his teammates for the first time as the Jets starting quarterback. Adam Schefter and Scott Hansen, they've been all over the story. How did the deal finally go down, and is Favre excited for a new beginning? Adam and Scott will bring us all the latest from New York and Cleveland. And how long will it take for Favre to fit into the Jets offense? NFL Total Access, it starts right now.
I'm not a trader. Never will be. It's business.
The deal is done. Brett jets over Tampa Bay to become a member of Gang Green. We'll tell you how the Jets leapfrogged the front-running Bucks in the race to acquire a quarterback legend. And now that Favre is in favor in New York, what does that mean for ex-Jet Chad Pennington, Jamie Dukes, and Rod Woodson to the Jets, and him holding up that brand-new number 4 jersey at Cleveland Brown Stadium as the Jets get set to take on the Cleveland Browns. Favre wanted to be with his teammates. Brett Favre, he left Hattiesburg, Mississippi early this morning at about 11:23 Central Time on his way to New York to start his new life as a member of the Jets. Let's welcome you inside our NFL Network studios and talk to our own Adam Schefter, who's been all over this story. And Adam, how were the Jets able to convince Favre that New York would be the place for him?
Well, Fred, I think there are a couple of key elements to remember here. Number one, the Green Bay Packers imposed a Wednesday night deadline on the New York Jets to get a trade done by. The Jets knew that if they didn't get a deal done by that time, that Brett Favre was going to be traded to Tampa Bay. The Jets stepped up efforts. At one point, Mike Tannenbaum, the Jets general manager, was scheduled to fly to Cleveland on Wednesday. He delayed those plans, and not flying to Cleveland allowed him to be on the phone to talk to the Green Bay Packers to work out a deal. And even when the Jets did work out a deal for Brett Favre late Wednesday night, they still did not have consent from him. They did not have his approval. And there was some apprehension within the Jets front office that at that time, Brett Favre could call the Jets and tell them, I'm not going to report to New York. A short time later, he did call. He said he was all right with New York. He bought into the recruiting plan that Eric Mangini and Mike Tannenbaum gave him, and now Brett Favre is a New York Jet in one of the most historic trades in National Football League history.
Adam, take us through the particulars of the deal.
Fran, it's a very complex deal. Essentially, the Jets have surrendered a conditional 4th-round draft pick, which is way more than the Tampa Bay Buccaneers were offering. It goes to a 3rd-round pick if Brett Favre plays in 50% of the plays this season. If he plays in 70% and the Jets make the playoffs, it turns into a 2nd-round pick. And if he plays in 80% and the Jets make it to the Super Bowl, it will become a 1st-round pick. But what was notable about this deal also is that the Green Bay Packers took extreme steps to make sure that the Jets could not trade Favre within the NFC North. They put in a clause that says if the Jets trade Favre to any team in the NFC North, Chicago, Detroit, Minnesota, then the New York Jets would have to give Green Bay 3 first-round draft picks. Fair to say that Brett Favre will never again play in the NFC North.
And quickly, we all thought Tampa Bay was a front runner. What happened there?
I think that Tampa Bay waited to hear back from Green Bay. It never actually did. At 2 different points, I think there was a feeling that Tampa Bay was going to get the deal done. And again, if the New York Jets had not come through by the designated deadline, obviously Brett Favre would have been headed to Tampa Bay. And as it is right now, Jeff Garcia becomes a big-time winner because he gets to keep his job with 1 year left on his contract.
All right, Adam Schefter will join us momentarily in the show. So Brett Favre now a brand new member of the New York Jets, ending his news conference before the Jets and the Browns kicked off at Cleveland's Brown Stadium. Here's a little bit of what Favre had to say.
I've always wanted to be a Packer. I think I always will be a Packer. 16 years is hard to forget for everyone. And I'd like to think that those 16 years, people will say, you know, best 16 years I've ever watched. It was a lot of fun for me. I think it was made clear this offseason that they were moving forward. Some things happened in between that. That's okay. And, you know, it's time for me to move forward.
When this opportunity presented itself, we thought we were getting a good play at the quarterback position. We felt this was an opportunity to improve upon that, and that's why we went ahead and made the decision.
I think we're probably both at fault. I'm not going to sit here and blame it all on one side or the other. A lot of things happened this offseason, a lot of shocking things. I think we're both at fault. Who's at fault more? It's a matter of opinion. But I really think at this point it's irrelevant. The most important thing in this whole process is the guys in that locker room. I know some of these guys by name. Bubba Franks I played with, I know personally. But I really don't know these guys. They don't know me. I think when they get to know me, they'll like me and like the way I play and figure out that I'll do whatever it takes to win for them.
Brett Favre, a member of the New York Jets, he also said, I am not a traitor. This is business. And now his business has brought him to the Big Apple. Say hello to Rod Woodson and Jamie Dukes. Welcome to NFL Total Access. Rod, let me start with you. Brett Favre in that jet green. Your thoughts?
Well, let me say first that you do not buy a championship. But the legacy that Brett Favre has is going to stay in Green Bay. They're looking for a leader on the offensive side. If you look at everything they did this offseason, spent $140 million. You got Alec Faneca, Damon Woody, Calvin Pace, Tony Richardson. You got so many guys there. And now they're saying the missing link was the quarterback, the leadership at the quarterback position. Now, Brett Favre jumping into the mix there. Can he learn the offense fast enough to make this team a contender going into the playoffs this year?
And you mentioned the word contender. I think that this move actually puts the New York Jets in position to be a playoff team. And when I look at this team, the thing that comes to mind for me, first of all, is that you've got 5 teams that are going to be in my mind, and that is you got Jacksonville. They're going to be in probably as a wild card, win the division along with the Colts. You look at the New England Patriots, they're going to be in there. You look at the winner of the North, Rod's old division, the AFC North, they're going to be there. And so that leads to me, there's one spot that's open. And I think now, with Brett Favre coming on and joining this team, I think it puts him in a situation where they got a guy who can throw the ball in the wintertime. He's got those big hands. He can spin the ball outside. That was one of the problems you had with Chad Pennington. Chad Pennington could not throw to certain parts of the field. So I think it's incumbent upon the New York Jets to utilize Brett Favre's talents and utilize that big arm, especially when you start talking about later on in the season.
Will he be able to learn the offense? It's a different offense than the one that they ran in Green Bay.
Certainly, but I think here you've got a guy, Brett understands the passing game. So terminology obviously is going to be an issue first. And so once he gets that terminology down, then it's going to be about making sure that you add more and more of the offense. They're going to dumb it down, first of all. They're going to get the basics for Brett, and then they'll move on and move the ball, as they say.
My one concern for Brett Favre is, does he think himself as a savior for this franchise this year? Where's his mindset? Is his mindset that he believes that he has to win these games on his own because he has a strong arm? And most strong-arm quarterbacks believe they can throw it in the double, triple coverage. We've seen Brett do that in the past, but we've seen, with that same instance, Brett making plays because of that. What Brett do we get in New York, because does he think that he has to do it all on his own because he is the guy that everybody's looking to fill up the seats and get him into the playoffs?
Yeah, but it's incumbent upon Eric Mancini. The most important thing he has to do is basically sit Brett down and tell him, look, we have defense. We're going to be fine. We're going to have a good, solid running game. We've got this big mammoth offensive line that we've assembled together, and obviously that's going to take a little time. You don't have to be the savior. And I think you're dead on.
It's a tough job to do.
It is, but I think that but Thompson did it. They were able to do it. McCarthy did it in Green Bay. It took them a few seasons, so they have to pick up right where the Green Bay Packers left off and say, Brett, just be you. Don't try to push it. Don't try to force it. Let the game come to you, and everything will be fine.
Rod, Jamie's already said he thinks the Jets are going to make the playoffs with Brett Favre. Do you think they will?
I don't believe they'll make the playoffs. You got to look at their division, just within their division. I think they're the 3rd best team in their division. If you go back to last year,
behind Buffalo,
Buffalo Bills played extremely well this last year. They did outstanding job in the draft and in free agency. Then you look at New England. They're a dominant team. Defense, everybody's thinking, is falling off a little bit, but they're still the team to beat. I think they're the third team in their division. I just believe it's going to be tough for them to climb up from 4-12 to make the playoffs this year, just because they spent the money. And
But they were a better 4-12 team.
No, they are. They were a better 4 team.
Yeah.
And I believe that even without Brett Favre, this is a better football team just for the additions they've made this offseason. I just think, and Brett said it in his press conference, chemistry is everything in the National Football League. This is an ultimate team sport. You don't get 2 players and you win a championship. I mean, if that's the case, Daniel Snyder would have had a couple Super Bowl trophies sitting in Washington right now. I just believe that he is the guy, or he can definitely help them. I just don't think you can buy a championship by spending money. And Brett Favre, I don't think is going to get them over the hump.
But they're not buying a championship. What they've done is, like with everything else, they've improved the quarterback position along with other positions. So it's not about buying it. It's about bringing somebody in who, number one, helps you expand the field.
Brett Favre is not the future for the New York Jets.
That's okay, but we're talking about for this season.
That's okay. For this season, and I'm talking about for this year. It's 1 year. It's 6 months. It's the chemistry, and Brett said it himself. The chemistry. What can he learn about the receivers? What can the receivers learn about him? The tight ends, the running game. He needs to know his offensive line. He needs to know understand the call, the play calling, how Brian Schottenheimer is going to make his calls. He has to be comfortable with inside that system. That's going to take time, and that's the chemistry he's talking about. And chemistry is the only thing that wins championships.
All right, guys, quickly, though, one more question for you. Is it good enough for the Jets just to make the playoffs? Do they have to win a playoff game for it to be tabbed a successful season?
No, I think them getting there. I mean, when you start talking about expectation, that's what we're talking about, is fan expectation in a lot of cases. I think them getting there is a good positive step. I also believe that this is more than a one-year scenario. I mean, when you think about Warren Moon. Warren Moon played into his 40s. Brett Favre, physically can continue to play on.
Warren never talked about year after year after year.
You will not let that go, Rod. Why won't you let the guy? Okay, the guy.
Let me finish my thought.
But think about it. But Rod, they didn't want him. Rhett knew. You just mentioned it. They didn't want him in Green Bay.
Brett
Thompson
retired.
did not want him.
Brett retired. He made his bed. He had to live with it, but now he's moving on. He's in New York. I just think that Brett Favre is a better quarterback than what they had. I don't think they're going to make the playoffs. They will be a better football team, not just because Brett Favre is here, but because also all the other additions they've made in the offseason on the front line and on the defensive front line.
All right, so we know what you two think in terms of whether the Jets are going to make the playoffs. We want to know what you think. Make sure you log on to NFL.com and answer our poll question. Will the Jets make the playoffs now that Brett Favre is their starting quarterback? Brett Favre joining the New York Jets front page of the New York Post. Jet Favre, and on the back cover, Brett the Jet, the Big Apple, buzzing. Green Bay, though, moving on. Earlier Thursday, the Packers brass speaking out about the end of an era in Titletown.
The relationship got to a point where it couldn't go forward. And I don't try to blame either side. It's like a marriage that ends. It happens, and neither party is at fault.
Despite opinions to the contrary, I like Brett a lot. I'd love to see him have the time of his life, and I'm wishing him well.
It was never a matter of if Brett Favre can play. In my opinion, and based on our communication and all the communication went through all this process, I was never truly convinced that he was going to play. Now, he wants to play. He should play. And we got to a tough spot that this is why it ended up why we're here today.
All right, so Brett Favre is going to play. He's going to play in New York for the Jets, which means Aaron Rodgers is going to play in Green Bay for the Packers, and that's what the Packer brass has said since this whole affair started. Packers are moving on. Did they do the right thing here?
Well, did they do the right thing with making this team the best team this year? No, because we all agree that Brett Favre is a better quarterback today than Aaron Rodgers is right now. So did they do a good thing because of the future for the franchise? It's inevitable that Brett Favre is going to retire. I think if one person came out of this whole thing with a big whew, it's Aaron Rodgers. He's glad the saga's over, because if anybody shouldn't be in the spotlight that's in the spotlight, it's Aaron Rodgers. He's the main guy that's taking a lot of heat, because he's taking a spot of the savior, of the icon that's been in Green Bay for 16 years, and a lot of fans don't want to accept that.
But it won't go away is the problem.
No, it won't go away. It won't go away. But the problem is, Brett is not going to be over his shoulder. He won't be in Green Bay, so he doesn't have to always look after a snap that Brett's there.
That
so
would be
that's
virtually
gonna be
impossible.
but I'm saying in his mindset, the mindset for him, he doesn't have to battle with. Yes, he's going to be compared. Yes, but he won't have to deal with Brett on a daily basis.
But
that's the
let's
difference.
take the other side of that and talk about what is on his shoulders now. Because basically now he controls, to a certain extent, the destiny of the general manager and the head coach.
Well,
because no, I know
win
it's
losses. Win losses does.
No, yeah, it does. But
He'll be a part
but
of
he,
it.
No, he's going to be the major. The NFL is about the quarterback. He will be the major
I know
contributor.
a lot of teams that won Super Bowls without having a
No,
great quarterback.
Stop.
Don't hate.
Stop.
Quit
I'm not
Quit
hating.
hating.
But here's the problem: is that the pressure is going to be there. It would have been better in my mind had Brett gone to Tampa, because now he's in New York, the largest media market in the country.
Wait.
So what happens
Behind
is,
closed doors, you said Green Bay's media is just as big as.
No. What I said is they are just as tenacious. At the Wabasha Journal and the Appleton, the Wabasha Journal.
Say it one more time.
The big Wabasha Journal. Just remember that. That's a little small little
But if he
publication
goes
up
to
there.
Tampa, though, they actually see them on the calendar.
Just once on the calendar.
Okay.
If Brett Favre plays well in New York and they win some games, and their schedule, I think, is somewhat favorable for them when you look at their division, has the easiest schedule by schedule standards in the National Football League, Brett could do well. And then all we'll be talking about and all the league will be talking about coming out of New York is how well Brett Favre is doing. So he will be compared in a much bigger spectrum now because Brett is in New York as opposed to being in Tampa Bay.
If Brett does well in New York.
No, there's a big if, but if Aaron Rodgers stinks it up, then there's going to be some major problems.
They had to find out. They had to find out what they have for the
But did
future
they
of this
have to
franchise.
find out now? Why do they have to find out now?
Listen, I don't know everything that happened behind closed doors. Brett Favre retired March 6th.
Right.
That organization, that franchise said, we have to move forward.
I
They
understand that,
drafted
too.
another quarterback. Now, could they have taken him back? Yes, they could have. Something happened within all that they couldn't mend defense.
Well, let me ask both of you: if you were veteran players on the Green Bay Packers, you were 13-3 a year ago, you were one interception away from the Super Bowl. This guy's not coming back, who led you there, and now a guy who has not had one start in the National Football League is going to be your quarterback. As a veteran player in your locker,
this question.
I mean, isn't this a win-now business?
There is questions in your mind as to whether or not you hope that Aaron Rodgers, if you're on the team, plays his way in. But what we've learned we've seen this before, even with like a guy like Joey Harrington. You can't talk your way into being a leader on a team.
That's right.
What you have to do is play your way into respect. And so that's the question. That's the question that Aaron Rodgers is going to have to answer for the team. All the chatter, and he can be roommates with whoever he wants to be, but he's going to have to play and earn the respect of his teammates.
I can say that the Green Bay Packers defenders are all saying, what happened? Now all they're saying now is, Aaron, don't mess this thing up. Don't go out there and throw a pick here, a pick there, and put in situations where we can't win. You go out there, you control the ball, be a manager of the game, as we hear all the time in the National Football League at the quarterback position. If he can go out there and do that, get the ball to the guys that make the plays, they can be okay because the talent is there for that football team.
That's right. It's a young, talented football team, so he may be just enough to get them to the playoffs. All right.
Trading away a national treasure like this, they are in for a whole lot of trouble. You want to talk about the curse of the Bambino. This could have repercussions much stronger than that. I think you're going to have a lot of very unhappy and disgruntled veterans in that locker room right now.
So you've moved from disappointment to anger to curse.
Absolutely. This is the biggest debacle in professional sports history. Handling Brett Favre like that, Ted Thompson should be ashamed of himself.
Wow, one Packer fan's opinion there, and here's why he probably feels that way, because of all the legendary numbers that Brett Favre has put up over his 17-year career in the National Football League. For his 18th season, he'll be the starting quarterback for the New York Jets, which means that Chad Pennington, he was released by the Jets at 4 Eastern on Thursday, and already early speculation is that Pennington could wind up in a Miami Dolphins uniform. The Dolphins are expressing some interest in Chad Pennington. There are also some other teams who probably might be interested in picking up the former quarterback of the New York Jets. Here's head coach Tony Sparano on what he knows about Pennington.
I only know about him, through playing against him. And again, what I've heard about him, I've only heard that he's a very intelligent player, and he's always been pretty accurate with what he did with the ball, those kind of things. I know the guy's a competitor. We have 3 quarterbacks right now on our team, and we're finding it hard right now to get all 3 of those guys the work they need, but we're doing that. So I'm happy with the people we have here right now.
All right, let's welcome back in Adam Schefter. Adam, what does the future hold for Chad Pennington?
Well, first and foremost, Fran, on Thursday, the Jets chartered a flight from Cleveland specifically for Chad Pennington to fly back to New York. It must have been a very difficult morning for Chad Pennington, similar to what Brett Favre went to when he flew back from Green Bay. Chad Pennington flies back to New York by himself. The Dolphins look to be interested. The Kansas City Chiefs, with Chad Pennington's former head coach Herm Edwards, also appear to be interested. And I think when you think about what Chad Pennington might decide to do, apply the Brett Favre formula. Who was the one team that Brett Favre wanted to play for most of all? The Minnesota Vikings. And part of the reason was he would get to play against the Green Bay Packers twice a year. Where could Chad Pennington get to play against the Jets twice a year? For the Miami Dolphins. To me, that would be the most logical match right now.
Yeah, but the only problem with that is that the Miami Dolphins are so young that they're not going to do any damage, I believe, to the New York Jets. I think that here's a situation where you have a guy, and again, I go back to the Minnesota Vikings. I go back to the Green Bay Packers, for that matter. The Green Bay Packers have no experience whatsoever. So when you start talking about a trade, why would you not say, hey, and throw Chad Pennington in there anyway? Because remember, the Green Bay Packers, if you believe what they say, they were prepared to pay Brett Favre $12 million to sit on the bench behind Aaron Rodgers if Brett Favre said he'd be willing to come in and sit on the bench. And so why would the Green Bay Packers not want to use a guy like that? The Minnesota Vikings, same story. You got DeVaris Jackson. I'm not saying you're benching DeVaris Jackson. I'm saying that you bring a guy like this in who can play, and he's in the elements of the dome, so I think that that won't be as much a factor with his arm.
But let's look at really 2 teams that need a veteran presence somewhere in the National Football League, and you got to think Chicago Bears. Rex Grossman, you don't know what you're going to get, but Chad Pennington, everybody talks about how smart he is, how due diligent he is with the football. You just don't make mistakes, and they need a manager of the football because their defense is still solid. They can still get things done. They're still looking for the running game, but they need a quarterback in that situation where he can take care of the football, not put their defense and their football team in harm's way, and they can win a lot more football games if they get a quarterback like that.
All right, quickly, Jamie, do you believe that Chad Pennington could be better off now that he's out of New York?
Better off? I'm not quite sure. But I will say that, again, the place that he goes, much like with Brett Favre, he will be wanted. And I think that's what every player wants, as you alluded to earlier, Rod. That's what players want. They want to feel wanted. And I think Chad, wherever he goes, the team is going to want him and appreciate his skill sets.
He just wants a job right now. Take it all.
All right.
Are they going to want him to the tune of the money that the Jets were supposed to pay him, $6 million this year? Do you think Miami or Kansas City, anybody like that would pay him $6 million?
That's too much.
Well, Green Bay Packers should, because remember, they're going to pay Brett 12, so you got a fire sale going right now.
But they won't have to because since he's been released, they draw up whatever terms they want to draw up. Right, Adam?
That's correct. That's correct.
I just wanted to comment on the Jets getting Brett Favre and how this actually gives the Jets now a legitimate chance of getting deep in the playoffs. I think that the Jets team with their beefed up O-line had a chance anyway to get the wild card in the AFC, and I think now with Brett Favre, I just wanted to hear your comment.
All right, season prediction, 11-5, we're making the playoffs.
I spent 5 years living in New York. The media can be extremely harsh if a player isn't performing up to expectations, but will that be the case if Brett Favre struggles out of the gate? Or will Favre have the luxury of a learning curve in the Big Apple? WFAN radio host Joe Beningo, he weighs in on the subject.
If the Jets get off to a bad start this year, if they're 0-3, if they're 1-4, something like that, and Favre is making some of the dumb decisions that we've seen him make over the years. Remember one thing about Brett, yeah, he's a great quarterback, he is a Hall of Famer, but I don't know if there's been a Hall of Fame quarterback that has the ability to make more stupid decisions in big spots than we've seen Brett do over the last number of years. If that happens, he is going to be criticized in New York. You know, nobody ever criticized him in Green Bay, and there's been no player that I can think of that has been, had their rear end kissed by the media more than Brett Favre. In New York, he won't get away with that like he got away with it in Green Bay.
That's Joe Beningo, who is a lifelong Jets fan, so he's telling it like it is up there in New York. Adam rejoins us. Adam, how do you think Brett Favre will acclimate to New York personally and professionally?
Well, that's a nice welcome to New York from Joe Benigno. That's certainly a very welcoming feeling. for Brett Favre. I think that Brett Favre has a number of adjustments to make on a personal and a professional level. First of all, he's gone through the ringer this entire offseason emotionally with everything that he's gone through with the Green Bay Packers. It has not been an easy transition. But professionally, Brett Favre has a month to learn a numbers-based offense. That is not going to be an easy thing to do. It's the equivalent of trying to learn a foreign language and be fluent in it in the next month when everybody around you is already fluent in that offense. He's used to playing in a concept-based offense, and that is going to make life exceedingly difficult for Brett Favre to adjust to. It could take some of the fun out of the game initially, and that's why he came back for the fun. This is not going to be an easy adjustment for Brett Favre, but he's overcome a lot in his life. This will be another challenge for him.
You play quarterback in this league for 16 years. You understand everything there is to understand about the game itself. Now, the question becomes pro right check, hum, da-da-da-da-da. Brett will get that over time. I'm not concerned at all about that. As it pertains to his abilities to handle the media, the thing I like about Brett has always been a guy that has taken responsibility for when he's made mistakes. And it's when the guys get out there and they start trying to blame other guys and give innuendos like that, that is when, in my mind, in New York, people get in trouble. So I think Brett Favre is going to be totally fine because he, number one, says, I'm the guy who made the mistake. I will try to do better. It's hard to go after a guy once he kind of shoots himself, so to speak.
You know, I just believe that going to New York, Brett Favre is going to have some problems. Nightlife, Madonna. I mean, she's messing up everybody's families. No, I'm just Broadway. Broadway. Is that what you're saying?
That was wrong.
Listen, I think he's going to be fine. He played 16 years in the National Football League. He's going to learn a new lingo for a new system. He's going to get that down pretty quick because really the difference in the systems is going to be the language itself. And you know that, Jamie. It's going to be the language itself. Once he gets that, the game on game days, the same game he's been playing since he's been a kid, I think he's going to be absolutely fine with the media, with the system, with New York.
And Jamie, I like what you said. I mean, Brett Favre, if he doesn't want to venture into the city, he certainly doesn't have to. But I think they're going to love him in New York City. They're going to treat him like a rock star.
Yeah, I think this is a new life. I mean, Brett Favre, to me, has been quickened by this. His, number one, his manhood has been challenged by the Green Bay Packers. Brett is going to give it everything he's got to prove to the Green Bay Packers, guess what, fellas? You made the wrong decision. And guess what? I'm in the biggest stage in this country to show you every week that you made a huge mistake.
Adam,
he doesn't get to play.
Go ahead, Adam.
He doesn't get to play against the Green Bay Packers, but he does get the chance to show the Green Bay Packers the mistake that he feels that they made.
And quickly, Rod, how long do you think it'll take for Brett Favre to get used to his new teammates? He mentioned outside of Bubba Franks, he doesn't know really anyone on that roster.
Well, you talk about a guy who's been there and done that, and I think Brett Favre is going to go in there in practice, in training camp, and understand these guys, understand the system. He's seen these guys from afar. Now he gets to meet these guys in the locker room personally. I think it's going to be fine. Couple of weeks, Brett Favre is going to do absolutely have a good job, have a good season this year for the New York Jets.
And Jamie, quickly, you said in practice when those wide receivers start seeing that football whistling.
Yeah, when that ball starts lighting up in their hands, they're going to get real excited. You're going to hear a lot and see a lot of, ooh, wow. These other guys, they couldn't do that.
There have been some big-name players changing addresses over the last 3 weeks. The Giants sending Jeremy Shockey to the Saints July 22nd. How about the Dolphins sending Jason Taylor to the Redskins? And Brett Favre, now a member of the New York Jets. For how this affects the balance of power in the NFC North, let's check in with Mike Mayock and Pat Kerwin.
Well, with the Brett Favre era officially over in Green Bay, it's a good time to take a look at the NFC North, and I think it becomes a wide-open division, and whatever young quarterback plays well in that division might ultimately determine who wins it. Minnesota has really helped themselves on the defensive side of the ball, especially with Jared Allen. On the offensive side, they're loaded at tailback with Adrian Peterson. They've got great skill position players. If Tavares Jackson can play at a notch higher, I think they can overcome a really good Green Bay Packers team who has the same issue. Let's face it, a young quarterback in Aaron Rodgers who does not have the same amount of snaps, quality game snaps, as Tavares Jackson. So from where I sit, I think it's a wide open race. I kind of like Minnesota early in the season because, believe it or not, I think they have the edge at quarterback.
Brett Favre and the New York Jets is going to change the face of the AFC East. There's no doubt about that. What he brings with him is a guy who's a deep threat quarterback. He's going to scare people. He's going to put points on the board. I'm at Miami today, and he has actually got some of the people around here talking about their opener against Brett Favre. What he does for the New York Jets is legitimize this offense and put them in a position and to be a contender for a wild card spot. I don't think there's enough firepower in New York with Brett Favre to overtake the Patriots, but I can see them going 9-7, 10-6, and being a wild card team.
All right, Pat and Mike, thank you very much. We'll hear our Brett Favre's career numbers versus the AFC East. He has led teams to 7 victories and 7 losses against those teams.
Wait until the end of the year. Let's see what happens. Give Aaron Rodgers a chance. Is he gonna be catching lightning in a bottle twice? I think that this is going to go down as one of the worst decisions in Packer history, and this is why. Green Bay's been the winningest franchise since 1992 when Favre took over as quarterback. It's winningest in the NFL, and I think that all the Favre drama back and forth certainly justifies some consideration for Brett to take a backseat to Aaron Rodgers, at least to start the season. But I don't think he deserved to be pushed out the door, I feel, the way he was. And I believe that this decision is going to backfire on the Green Bay Packers.
All right, so more Packer fans and their thoughts on Brett Favre being traded to the Jets. Our poll question, will the Jets make the playoffs with Brett Favre under center? The results, 51% believe they will not. So it's pretty close. Right down the middle. Over 100,000 people voted on NFL.com. We thank you for that. 4 downs. First down, Rod. 3 teams were caught up in the Brett Favre saga: Packers, Bucks, and Jets. Which of those teams will win the most games this season?
I believe the Packers. I think the Packers are a better overall team in a division they play in. I think they get more wins.
I'm going with the JTS Jets.
Man,
Brett,
you a bandwagon guy.
I believe, Brett. It's going to take a little work, but I believe.
Second down, which traded player, Jeremy Shockey, Jason Taylor, or Brett Favre, will have the biggest impact on his new team?
Jeremy Shockey with Drew Brees will have the biggest impact.
I agree with him totally. I think Jeremy Shockey is going to have a monster year. Yeah. He's got something to prove, and I think they're going to get him.
All right, quickly, 3rd down. Will Chad Pennington start an NFL game this season, Rod?
I want to say no, but Vinny Testaverde did last year for the Panthers, so anything can happen. So I'm going to say yes, just for that fact.
Chad's going to be a good addition to some team. He will, yes.
Okay.